Alright, so today I am attempting to reclaim one of my battered oat fields. This is the one that was socked with water the worst. Believe it or not, this entire section out here, after I planted oats and they started to come up really well, was underwater. This whole area was essentially just like a swamp. It was underwater for pretty much 3 weeks solid, and all the oats drowned. So what I've decided to do with this is to replant it, this time with some Sudan grass. I came through here with the tillage disc, the 8-foot tillage disc with my 8-foot by 8-foot drag behind it. And this is what we're left with. As you can see, after I have gone through and made some adjustments on that thing, the chunks it leaves behind it are probably less than half the size on average of the massive dirt clods that was left behind before. And of course, the other thing that really helps with that is the use of this drag, which is also new. I let it get all folded up and I unloaded it off this trailer with the forklift forks. And as you can see, there's a few things I gotta re-tie together here. You know, this thing, it's a 8-foot by 8-foot drag harrow, but really it's a pair of 8-foot by 4-foot harrows that hook together. And this winter, it's gonna be a winter project to weld all these things or smash them closed. Move thing. So that, there we go, so they stop coming apart every time that I transport this thing with the front end loader, which, to be fair, is a little disturbing. You know, it's a little upsetting for this, I understand that, but this is getting to be a little annoying because I have to do this every time I use it. What we're gonna do, we must both plant and fertilize this field and kill the fire ant, which is on my camera, and where else those stupid things are. Anyway, yeah, fertilizer's going down first, and I'm gonna be pulling this thing behind me so that at least some of this gets hit with the drag harrow again. And then once the fertilizer's put out, it's time to put seed out. Then I'm gonna drag everything, and hopefully it'll come out a lot smoother than it did last time. Now, as anybody can tell you, it is extremely important to handle each of these bags a maximum number of times to hit peak efficiency. Last fertilizer, the trailer has no more fertilizer on it, only seed. Man, it would be cool if I had some kind of folding toolbar with 3 of those drag harrows so I could do about as wide as this thing spreads in a single pass with the drag instead of just covering up the tracks of the tractor, which help. It is breaking up some of the clumps down there, of course. I have a new rule. From now on, every ounce of fertilizer and seed that I purchase goes under cover as soon as I get it home, because yesterday was just like today. Do you think it's gonna rain? Look around. Doesn't feel like rain. Sky's pretty blue, just a few clouds. Not gonna rain, right? This is exactly how it was yesterday at this time, and then it started downpouring. So from now on, every drop of fertilizer and every individual seed I buy goes undercover, even if especially if it's a day like this. Anyway, the good news is that this stuff is going down pretty well. I hope the camera can pick this up here, but we got a pretty nice application of fertilizer. And you can see where I drove through here on the last pass, that drag does cover up a lot of this, and even right here is noticeably smoother than right over here. So unlike the fertilizer, I don't want the seeds to be smashed apart and broken into the soil. So I'm gonna unhook that drag, spread the seed, and then hook up the drag again and go over it so that way it only gets dragged through once. Yeah, this needs to be dragged one more time. That's all right. We got to go back and incorporate all this. Yeah, it's mostly fertilizer. Knowing what I know about running this thing, it's probably not going to come out until a couple of those chunks get worked through, and it's all coming out at once. It seems tedious, you know, to get every little morsel of this out of here, but if I don't, it gets wasted hosing this out in the yard when I get home. So I might as well go in the field. All right, that ought to be good for a rip. All right, so we're cruising along at a pretty comfortable 5.5 miles an hour, pulling this drag. Earlier on, I was pushing 8 miles an hour. I was actually over 8 miles an hour for a while, but I decided to slow it down, drop a gear, have some dinner, and this feels like a pretty comfortable, pretty easy pace for this field. So this is the finished part. It looks a heck of a lot smoother than the last time I planted this, or about anything else for that matter, which I'm really happy about. And this drag is doing an awesome job. I really want to combine it with the field roller that I also want to build. But even by itself right now, I mean, you can see on this side there's some pretty big clumps in the soil. There's a bunch of tire tracks, like right there from where I was spreading still, you know, trying to even stuff out as much as possible. You can see, unfortunately, there is some litter from the animals who reside in this part of town. And there's a bunch of bits of fertilizer and seed and everything. You can see all the individual grains of fertilizer. Probably not on camera, but they are down there. On this side, there are no tire tracks. A smaller number of smaller dirt clods. Unfortunately, this doesn't do a whole lot for the litter. And it is really rare for me to see any bits of fertilizer or seed. If I look really hard, I can find some individual grains here and there. But I mean, it takes a lot of digging, you know, proverbially, of course. It takes a lot of digging because it covers it up really well. This is just with a single pass. Thinking in the future, what I want to do is design my field roller. So I have a 10-foot long propane tank. I think it's like 500 gallons or 700 gallons or something. It's one size up from the standard big propane tank that a lot of people have outside their houses. I got one of those to build this thing with. I'm not the first one to use this idea. I think it was actually one of you guys who gave me the idea. And so that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna design, I'm probably gonna design like a crane on the back of this thing that will lift up this drag. So when you come to the end of the row, or you have to drive out to a field or something going down the road, you move one hydraulic lever and it raises and lowers the big roller itself, which will hopefully weigh like at least a couple thousand pounds once it's full of water. And then you got the drag behind it. So it'll come through, it'll flatten this out even more. But man, it's pretty nice to be able to go 8 miles an hour across the field. It was pretty rough the first batch of times that I used that disc, but I finally got it figured out. And especially with the drag, this is at least the second time this ground has been dragged. Once behind the disc, once just with the tractor, and some of this has been dragged a third and a fourth time, well, just a third time when I was spreading fertilizer. So it's getting it done. I'm pretty thrilled.